Beloved, to the silent ones who are listening from the edge of the room, from behind a private name, from the place where the heart whispers, do not look at me too closely, you are included. We know that place. We have all sat in the back pew of our own soul and said, I cannot pray today because I dare not be seen. Be assured, we are not here to accuse. We are here to release. We are not here to lift up a law court against you, but to let mercy have its word. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Not the public square, not the court of human opinion, the secret place. There shame cannot speak with authority. Now, this is our opening diagnosis. Shame is often nothing more than an argument with mercy. It is a quiet debate we stage in the mind against what grace already is. In other words, our mind prosecutes what God has already dissolved. Who shall lay anything to the charge of God's elect? It is God that justifieth. And again, if our heart condemn us, God is greater than our heart. If God is mercy, where is the power in our condemnation? If the Father says, neither do I condemn thee, can our feelings overrule grace? Can our memory write a new law above the law of the Spirit of life? Well, of course we try. We try by clutching to ourselves a verdict, rehearsing the file of transgressions as if persistence could confer authority. We attempt to pray while holding our breath. We attempt to drink living water while keeping a stone upon the tongue. And then we say, prayer is blocked. Prayer is not blocked. We are debating. We are reaching for God with one hand and clutching our self-accusation with the other, as if two powers could be maintained in the same temple, God and a past. There are not two powers in this world, as there seems to be. Be not afraid, God is. Listen closely. Self-forgiveness does not begin when you have punished yourself enough. Self-forgiveness begins the moment you stop arguing with God's mercy. You can't use truth, but truth can use you. And truth does not use us while we are cross-examining the witness of grace. The Master did not say to the woman, bring me 10 years of penance, then I will consider. He said, neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. That is not indulgence, that is law. The law of the Spirit restores by revealing what God is, not by bargaining with what God is not. Now, let us ask the simple, searching questions that open this door. If God is mercy, what power remains in our self-condemnation except the permission we granted? If the shepherd leaves the 99 to find the one, will he lose us because we insist on being lost? If we feel unclean, can feeling nullify the word, what God hath cleansed, call not thou common? Feeling is not authority. Grace is authority. Our feelings are weather. Grace is climate. Be still and know that I am God. We are asked to know, not to perform worthiness. I say to you with tenderness, our difficulty in prayer is seldom ignorance of phrases or forms. It is that we attempt to stand before the altar with a self-issued warrant in our pocket. We have already judged and sentenced ourselves, and then we ask God to agree with our judgment under the guise of humility. That is not humility. That is the pride of disbelief. The humility that opens prayer is simpler. Father, thou art the mercy I cannot argue down. In that acknowledgement, debate ends, prayer begins. We do not pry heaven open. We let the bars of our own debate fall, and we find the door was never locked. So, to the one who could not pray this morning, to the one who wrote a silent confession no one will read, we have no interest in your guilt, we have interest only in your God. We will not make a project of you. We will consent to what already is. And as we consent, the heart will hear what the mind could not prove. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, not after I have purchased it with shame, all the days Even this one. Be not afraid, God is. Now let us clear this next obstruction with the same tenderness. Many of us have been taught quietly, culturally, sometimes religiously, that continued self-blame is proof of sincerity. We imagine that if we keep the wound open, heaven will see we mean it this time. But of course that is not truth, that is theater. It is not contrition, it is choreography. I will have mercy and not sacrifice, said the Master, echoing the prophet. Do we believe him? If mercy is God's nature, then our sacrifices do not buy it. They only keep the heart rehearsing its injury and the door of the temple closed from the inside. Forgiveness is not our mood. Forgiveness is a law and quality of God. As surely as the sun gives light, forgiveness gives release. We do not manufacture it. We consent to it. A broken and a contrite heart God will not despise. Yes, but contrition is not a payment. It is the opening of the window. Neither do I condemn thee is not a mood swing in Jesus. It is the constancy of divine nature revealing itself. We must learn humbly that we can't use truth to earn worthiness. Truth uses us when we cease paying and begin yielding. Grace is not wages. Grace is presence. Be not afraid. God is. Now, watch the inner trap, because it often dresses itself in responsibility. The mind says, if I keep bringing it up, if I review it one more time, I'm being honest. No. In most cases, we are returning to separation, fear, and the old religion of two powers, God in one hand, our past in the other. We hold court in the soul and summon yesterday as a co-sovereign with the Father. There are not two powers in this world as there seems to be. The past has no authority in the presence of I am unless we deputize it by remembrance mingled with fear. When we reopen the file to prove we are serious, we are not cleansing, we are enthroning a shadow. Listen to the practice of the Master upon the cross. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That is not a bargain. It is a revelation of the Father's nature. It is the law of spirit flowing, even when human feeling cannot keep pace. So with us, when we cannot feel forgiven yet, we do not pay harder, we yield deeper. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. That is consent. That is not performance. That is permission given to the divine action that is already at hand. We step into the secret place, we close the door upon the accuser, and we let mercy be what it is before we can explain why. In other words, we stop trying to manage grace and we allow grace to manage us. You can't use truth, but truth can use you. Permit me to tell you of a man who wrote in great distress. Each morning he sentenced himself to an hour of recollection of every failure, believing that the ache was his tithe to God. He called it sobriety. Really, it was a private crucifixion. When asked to lay down that hour and instead sit quietly with 3 words, God is here, he protested that it was too easy. But he tried. In 1 week, his prayer ceased to be a courtroom and became a communion. Nothing was paid, yet debts he could not count fell off like old bark. Who shall lay anything to the charge of God's elect? It is God that justifieth. He discovered what we all must. Self-condemnation does not purchase forgiveness. It obstructs the very flow of grace that restores us. So remember this, responsibility is not the reopening of yesterday. Responsibility is the re-entry into presence. We are not improved by rehearsing our distance. We are restored by abiding in nearness. Let the mind protest. Let it call this lenience if it wants. We know better. This is the sternness of law, that only what is of God holds power. Shame has no legal standing in the secret place. Therefore be still. Withdraw the passport of the past. Sing within yourself as often as you must. Be not afraid. God is. And as you do, you will find that forgiveness was not waiting to be bought, it was waiting to be believed. Now we come to the heart of the matter, the core revelation without which the rest becomes sentiment. There are not two powers in this universe, as there seems to be. Not God and the past, not God and the mistake, not God and the verdict. If we consent to two, we will pray with one lip and accuse with the other, and then wonder why the prayer has no breath in it. But when we return to the Master's law of one, the air clears. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord, one. If God is the only power, what power remains in yesterday to define today? If God fills all space, where shall a memory stand to issue decrees? What court has seated shame as sovereign over the soul that dwells in God? Let us be very plain. This is not denial of wrongdoing. This is denial that error has authority over being. We correct what needs correction. We apologize where we must. We make amends as love leads. But we do not confer jurisdiction upon a date on the calendar. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. Newness is not a mood, it is the nature of life revealing itself when we stop licensing a second power. Consider the words spoken to Pilate. Thou couldst have no power at all against me, except it were given thee from above. If that is the law in the face of the empire, what is the power of last winter's sin in the face of I am? It has none, except the permission of our remembrance mingled with fear. Well, of course, the mind will say, but the past is real. I can prove it with evidence, with the hurt of others, with my own conscience, and we do not argue the facts. We refuse their throne. There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Christ Jesus. Now do you hear the word? Not after 10 years of self-reproach. Now, because condemnation is not a faculty of God. Where God is, condemnation is not. Be not afraid, God is. And where God is, the shadow loses its pretense to substance. We are not rescuing ourselves from a power, we are withdrawing consent from a phantom. In practice, this is wonderfully simple and, to the proud mind, terribly humbling. Each time yesterday seeks to rule today, do not debate, do not take the witness stand again. Be still, return to the secret place and abide. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. In that dwelling, the shadow of shame is not a government, it is a passing cloud. Whisper within yourself, God is. Let the words settle until they cease to be words and become awareness. You cannot use this truth to bully the mind, but truth can use you to end the argument. You will notice that the pressure to relive, to reaccuse, to prove your sorrow begins to thin, not because you won an argument, but because there was, in fact, nothing there to argue with, only a habit sustained by your consent. You see the difference? One path tries to heal by maintaining two powers, God and regret, and then balancing them by effort. The other path is the way of the Master, who took no account of what error claimed for itself and answered with the nature of the Father. Neither do I condemn thee, not indulgence. Law, the law of spirit that does not consult the calendar before it loves. As far as the east is from the west, so far hath he removed our transgressions from us. That is not permission to sin. That is permission for life to be life without our obstruction. So with us, we lay down the arms of argument and take up the yoke of abiding. One presence, one power, one life, the life in which we live and move and have our being. If we keep our consent anchored there, the past ceases to sit upon the throne. It becomes what it always was, a report without authority. And then something very practical occurs. We find the strength to do the right thing today, not as penance, but as transparency. We act out of identity rather than injury. We forget those things which are behind. and reach forth unto those things which are before, not by will, but by witness, witness to the one whose being is our being. Remember this maxim. Carry it as you would a quiet lamp into every corridor of memory. Be not afraid. God is, and where God is, condemnation is not. Keep it within you. Go and tell no man. Let the proof be the lightness with which you rise, the clarity with which you repair what can be repaired, and the silence with which you let yesterday dissolve in the face of I am. Now, before we go farther, let us learn to recognize the sound of the old machinery when it starts again. It is very precise. The mind reopens the case. It lays the papers on the desk of attention. It replays the evidence in slow motion, comments on the angle, the motive, the consequences. Then it demands a sentence more remorse, a harsher name, another round on the treadmill of prove you are sorry. This, we are told, is conscience. But it is not conscience, it is fixation. Conscience, when touched by spirit, leads you to repair in love, and then it rests. The prosecutor never rests. Conscience is a door, the prosecutor is a loop. Scripture knows this voice and gives it a name. It speaks of the accuser of the brethren, and then adds the gospel we must remember. The accuser is cast down. There is therefore now no condemnation to them who are in Christ now, not when the loop tires itself out. Do not mistake volume for virtue. The fact that the thought is insistent does not make it holy. Often, insistence is the mark of a suggestion trying to be enthroned without your consent. How then do we meet it? Not by drawing a sword against our own mind. Resist not evil does not mean submit to it. It means do not make a second power of it by wrestling. We are not asked to battle thoughts. We are asked to see them as temptations to believe in separation. See it, name it gently, and let it pass without signing the warrant. Be still. Withdraw attention as you would withdraw fuel from a flame. Return to the secret place and abide. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High abides under a shadow that nullifies all lesser shadow. Here is a simple pivot that serves us in the very instant of attack. Ask within, is this thought leading me into God's presence or away from it? Not, is it clever? Is it detailed? Is it severe? But, does it open the door of the heart to prayer or shut it? By their fruits ye shall know them. If a thought draws you to quiet, to willingness, to correction, without self-hatred, it bears the fruit of spirit. If it drives you to hide, to perform, to postpone communion until you have earned it, it smells of the prosecutor's ink. That is all the discernment you need for the turn. Now, of course, you will discover how quickly this lesson is required. You won't be out of this room 5 minutes before a little messenger arrives, a phrase from yesterday, a face, a number on a bill, and the mind will say, shall we reopen? Expect it. Not as trouble, expect it as the call to remembrance. Vigilance in this life is not strain, it is remembrance. It is pausing long enough to ask the pivot question and then to answer with the mantra that returns authority to where it belongs. Be not afraid, God is. Let me tell you how one woman practiced this in the simplest way. Each time the loop began, she did not argue, she did not plead her case to herself. She closed her eyes for 10 seconds and she said, Father, here is the voice that condemns. I cannot answer it, but thou art my answer. God is. 3 breaths, no debate. Then, if an amends was to be made, she made it quietly. If nothing was to be done, she returned to her work. In 2 weeks, she wrote, the case keeps trying to resume, but there is no judge on the bench. You can't use truth, but truth can use you, and it will, if you will offer your 10 seconds and your willingness. When you cannot forgive yourself yet, Do not lend your tongue to the prosecutor. Borrow the Master's instead. Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. Speak it over the thought itself. It knows not what it does. And then abide until the feeling catches up with the fact where God is. Condemnation is not where God is. The voice that replays evidence has no jurisdiction. So we watch, not nervously, but lovingly. We watch for the first flicker of the old trial, and at once we step back into presence. Keep it within you. Go and tell no man. Let the proof be your newfound ease in prayer, the readiness with which you act in love, and the silence with which you let the accuser depart the room unentertained. Be not afraid. God is... Now we take the next step, and it is a merciful one. When you cannot forgive yourself yet, do not try to manufacture a feeling. Ask the Father to be himself in you. Forgiveness is not our talent. Forgiveness is God's nature operating as law. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. This is not merely a sentence from a hill outside Jerusalem. It is a present working prayer. It is what we say when the mind has no more arguments, but the feeling has not yet softened. We borrow the Master's tongue until the heart remembers its own. How do we do this? Quietly, simply, not as performance, as permission. Sit for 1 minute. 1 minute will do, and acknowledge without drama, Father, thou knowest. I cannot forgive myself yet. I yield my inability into thy ability. Father, forgive. Then speak to the very spot of pain with gentleness, not accusation. Father, show me the Christ identity here. Dissolve this false verdict. Let me feel your peace. Do not try to feel holy. Be very human. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. You are not convincing God. You are consenting to what already is. You can't use truth, but truth can use you. Then be still, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, rest the tongue, and let the Spirit pray within you with groanings that cannot be uttered. Remember, we are not dealing in two powers, your failure on one side, God on the other, wrestling for a victory. There is only one power. Where God is, condemnation is not. So we do not bargain. We bear witness. There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Christ Jesus. Now, not after you have succeeded at contrition. Now, because condemnation finds no instrument in the presence of I am, you will ask, but what if the memory returns, harsh and loud? Do not be surprised. It will ask for encore. In that very instant, do not rehearse. Repeat the prayer. Father, forgive. Father, show me the Christ identity here. Dissolve this false verdict. Let me feel your peace. God is. And then, if there is a right action, an apology, a restitution, rise and do it in quietness and in trust. Do not make a project of your shame. Make a transparency of your obedience. Go thy way, be healed. The action does not purchase forgiveness. It expresses the grace that has already been permitted to flow. I can tell you of a young father who could not lay down a single night without reliving a moment he regretted with his child. He called it vigilance. It was torment. For 7 evenings, he practiced no explanations. Only the Master's prayer spoken inwardly over his own mind. Father, forgive. I cannot, but thou art my forgiveness. Show me the Christ identity here. Dissolve this false verdict. Let me feel thy peace. On the 3rd night he slept without trial. On the 5th, an amends formed in him that was tender, not theatrical, a quiet word to his child and a small change in his routine. On the 7th, the old ache tried to resume, and he found he had nothing to feed it. He restoreth my soul. That is the law when we yield. Now, of course, this is not sentiment, it is discipline. Keep it simple, keep it hidden. Go and tell no man. Do not measure your progress by the intensity of feeling. Feelings are weather. Grace is climate. Measure by this alone. Does the door to prayer open more easily today than yesterday? Are you readier to act in love without announcing your sorrow? Do you come more quickly to rest? Peace I leave with you. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. That peace is not payment received, it is presence recognized. If at any time the mind insists, you do not deserve such ease, answer not with debate, but with deference to the Father. Thou, Lord, art good and ready to forgive, and plenteous in mercy unto all them that call upon thee. Call and then abide. Let the mantra anchor the call until it becomes awareness. Be not afraid, God is. And as you repeat this practice, asking the Father, consenting to his nature, resting while he does the forgiving in you, you will find a strange and gentle authority returning. The past speaks softer, the present speaks clearer, and the soul knows by experience what it has heard by doctrine. When self-forgiveness feels impossible, we can still yield, and grace will do what we cannot. Now, we do not hurry away. Having asked the Father, we do not rise and re-enter the courtroom. We remain in the sanctuary we have entered. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Dwell, do you hear the word? Not visit, dwell. Many pray as tourists and then return at once to the old tribunal to see if the verdict has changed. No, abiding is the condition. We do not ask the Father to be himself in us and then consult yesterday for commentary. We stay. We stay until the sense of the presence is more persuasive than the echoes of the past. Now, of course, this raises a practical question. What if the feeling does not arrive on time? What if peace is late? Understand this. Feelings are weather, grace is climate. We do not measure the reality of the sun by a passing cloud, nor the reality of mercy by the mood of our nerves. Let not your heart be troubled. Let not make. We consent, and then we abide while the heart learns what the mind could not reason into. Be still and know that I am God. Knowing precedes the feeling. The feeling follows as fruit, not as proof we have earned it. Abide in me, and I in you, and ye shall bear fruit richly. Fruit ripens in the abiding, not in the argument. How do we abide? Quietly, simply, without performance. Sit 10 seconds, a minute, 3 minutes, whatever you can keep without strain, and take the inward posture of residence. No management of thought, no choreography of sorrow, only the soft turning of attention Godward. Then let the mantra do its work until it ceases to be a mantra and becomes awareness. God is, God is, God is. Say it once for the mind that worries, once for the body that tenses, once for the memory that replays, then rest. If thought returns to yesterday, answer not with debate but with the same turning. God is. In that repetition there is no magic, there is consent. You can't use truth, but truth can use you, and it does so in the hush that follows a surrendered word. Do you see that rest is not passivity? Rest is spiritual residence. It is the strong refusal to enthrone a second power. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Quietness is not weakness. It is the might of non-duality. We take our seat in the presence and remain there until condemnation loses its tongue. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Enemies may shout, accusations may clamor, the past may wave papers at the door. We do not leave the table to negotiate with phantoms. We eat in peace. We abide until the clamor discovers it has no audience and withdraws. Let me tell you how this looks in an ordinary day. A nurse wrote that every afternoon, just when the ward grew loud, the old self-accusation would start, "You are not fit to touch the suffering," and her hands began to tremble. She could not argue her hands into calm, so she took 90 seconds in the supply closet, closed her eyes, and whispered, "Be still, my soul. God is, God is, God is." No pleading, no proofs. Then she returned to the ward and did the next kind thing. In a week, she noticed the accusation arriving later, leaving sooner. In 2 weeks, it forgot to arrive. "They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles." Waiting is not idling, it is renewing. It is the secret alchemy by which mercy sets the atmosphere before we feel a change. We must normalize this holy delay. Do not demand a sign from your nerves. Peace is not proved by emotion, but by your willingness to stay with God when the breeze is slow. If tears come, let them come. If no tears come, let them not come. Our part is residence. Remain in the Word, and let the Word remain in you. When the mind circles back to but, answer with presence, not proposition. God is. When the hour is busy and you cannot sit, walk in the same interior hush, breathe the same sentence under your breath, carry the secret place into the corridor, and then notice, without fanfare, the small changes. The door to prayer opens more easily. The loop finds no clerk at the desk. The next right action arises without trumpet. This is how the heart learns. Not by argument won, but by presence kept. Rest first, and then the feeling tender, durable, unforced, takes its proper place. Keep it hidden. Go and tell no man. Let the proof be your gentleness. Let the sign be your readiness to forgive again tomorrow without reminding yourself how unworthy you were yesterday. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. Receive it in the secret place, and watch as condemnation forgets your address. So we abide, so we let mercy abide. So we become transparency, not project. Be not afraid. God is. Now let us take the simplest instrument into our hands, the word that turns us not outward, but home. God is. Do not think of it as poetry. It is the decisive withdrawal of consent from fear's storyline. It is the refusal to rehearse two powers. When the loop begins, when the picture rises unbidden, when the feeling insists you are unclean, we do not argue doctrine. We answer with presence. Be not afraid. God is. Those two sentences are a door from trance to truth. They do not change God, they change our consent. You may ask, but how does so small a word do so large a work? Because it is not the word, it is the law behind the word, the law of one. In saying God is, we bear witness to what is already true. In Him we live and move and have our being. Where God is, condemnation is not. Where God is, the past has no bench, no gavel, no right to summon you. So in the very instant a flashback rises, do not bow. Do not take the stand. Breathe once and let the mantra take its seat. God is. Let it settle until the picture loses its authority and becomes exactly what it is, a picture without power. Use it where life pinches. When a name lights the phone and dread climbs the spine, do not predict, do not script the outcome, be not afraid. God is. When you pass the address that tempts memory to accuse, do not linger in the gallery of self-judgment. God is. When the envelope arrives and you imagine the consequence will swallow, you open nothing in fear, open everything in presence. God is. And then, if there is action to be taken, take it quietly from identity, not from panic. This mantra does not make you passive, it makes you present. It is the stillness that hears the one necessary instruction for the next right step. Do you see what else is happening here? Identity is being restored in real time. The old name says, I am my worst moment. The truth says, I live and move and have my being in God. The old name says, I am the sum of my records. The truth says, your life is hid with Christ in God. Between those two names stands one turning, God is. Say it until the sense of I shifts, until you are no longer the character on trial, but the branch abiding in the vine. Then correction, when needed, flows as love, and silence, when needed, is free of fear. You can't use truth, but truth can use you. And it will use this little phrase to loosen the grip of every false identification. Keep it private, keep it holy. Do not perform it, do not announce it, do not turn it into a badge. When thou prayest, enter into thy closet. This is closet work. Go and tell no man. Let the mantra be a breath beneath speech, a light you carry without display. The proof will be in the change of atmosphere, in the swifter return to prayer, in the quiet courage to repair what love directs and then to rest again without ransacking yesterday for proof that you've earned it. Now, of course, you won't be out of this room 5 minutes before an invitation to spiral presents itself. Expect it, bless it as your opportunity. Meet it not with explanations, but with presence. Be not afraid. God is. Say it once for the frightened body, once for the loud memory, once for the imagined future, and then be still. In that stillness, the accuser finds no audience. The trance breaks. Identity stands revealed as transparency, not project. I am with you always. That is the life we practice. That is the turn we make, again and again, until the habit of two powers gives way to the simplicity of one. Now there is another correction we must receive, and it is a tender one. Gratitude, for many of us, has become a kind of currency. We feel mercy brush our cheek, and at once the old accountant within rises to balance the books. I will repay, we say. I will fast an extra day. I will add more hours. I will prove I deserve the pardon. That is not gratitude. That is debt consciousness, dressed in Sunday clothes. Gratitude in spirit is not payment for forgiveness. It is recognition that the Spirit of mercy is present and active now. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and into his courts with praise. Thanksgiving is not the fee at the door. It is the recognition that there is a door and it stands open. I had a woman say to me, I must be deeply grateful. I will make a great offering so God will know I understand. Now, of course, she had a wrong sense of gratitude. God does not require evidence to confirm his own nature. Your Father knoweth what things ye have need of before ye ask him. Real gratitude does not try to persuade God to continue being God. Real gratitude acknowledges God as God here, now, and thus, removes from our side the obstruction of fear and payment. You can't use truth, but truth can use you. And gratitude is one of the ways truth uses us to dissolve the old notion of two powers, the power of shame to collect its toll and the power of God to remit it. There are not two powers. Be not afraid. God is. Watch the subtlety of the old pattern. The mind whispers, if you hurt long enough, then you may receive peace, or if you perform great spiritual labor, then forgiveness will stick. And so we suffer on purpose, or we turn prayer into performance, as if the cross was short by an inch and we must supply the balance. Beloved, it is finished. Our tears do not buy. Our labor does not pay. Gratitude is the amen to that word. It turns us from paying to recognizing. It looks not back to ask for the past to be changed. It looks here to witness that grace is available on earth today. Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me, and I knew that thou hearest me always. Always is the tense of gratitude. How then shall we practice quietly, simply, not thank you for erasing my record, but thank you for thy presence, for thy nature of forgiveness active in this moment. Thank you for the Christ that reveals identity without condemnation. Thank you that where thou art, the accuser is silent. We are not to be grateful for a mood or for a particular outcome. We are to be grateful for the spirit which underlies all form. If a repair bears fruit, we do not say, thank you for the result, as if the result were the source. We say, thank you for the life that expresses as right action. If no feeling arises, we do not say, I have failed at gratitude. We say, thank you for being thyself, unchanged by my weather. Now, in that recognition, something very practical occurs. Gratitude, rightly placed, opens the channel. It does not purchase health. It reveals the presence that is health. It does not earn harmony. It yields to the source that is harmony. And so it flowers quietly, naturally into health, harmony, wholeness, completeness, perfection, infinite good, not as wages, but as fruit. Every good and perfect gift is from above, and cometh down from the Father of lights. Gratitude turns our eyes to the lights. The gifts follow as they must. Try this in the immediate way we have been learning. When the old impulse to pay returns, when you feel the itch to add pain, to prove sincerity, pause. Bow the head of the heart and say, Father, I thank thee for thy mercy now. I acknowledge thy spirit present, active, sufficient. God is. 3 breaths, no bargaining. Then, if love leads to an act, let it be an act of transparency, not transaction. Go and tell no man. Keep your thanks hidden, and let the change of atmosphere be its own testimony. In everything give thanks, not because everything in appearance is pleasing, but because in everything the presence remains. We are not graded by our eloquence. We are gathered by our recognition. So with us, let gratitude cease to be the coin of a debtor and become the song of a dweller. Abide, give thanks for spirit, and watch how swiftly the door to prayer opens, how gently the mind drops its invoices, how steadily life resumes from identity. Be not afraid. God is. And because God is, gratitude is not a payment. It is a seeing clear, simple, sufficient of the mercy that is here. Now let us not leave these truths as inspiration only. Let us enter into a little experiment, 30 days, quietly, privately. If you will embark on a program of daily forgiveness and daily gratitude, you will find a change in your life in 30 days, many of you in less than 30 days. Not because of the lecture, not because of the words, but because truth will be given time to use you. You can't use truth, but truth can use you, and it will, if you will give it your minutes, your mornings, your noons, your nights. First, daily forgiveness. Make it simple. Morning, before the world begins to speak, before the device, before the calendar, sit 3 minutes. Bow the head of the heart and say, Father, thou knowest. I release all into thy care. Father, forgive them, they know not what they do. Create in me a clean heart, O God. Renew a right spirit within me. God is. No rehearsing of faults, no staging of tears, only release. If a face rises, do not narrate. Place that one in the same light. Father, forgive, God is. If your own name arises, do not cross-examine. Place your name there too. Hear the Master, neither do I condemn thee. Rise from that seat as one who has given consent to mercy, to be mercy. Midday, we reset. Choose a bell in your day, the top of the hour, the hand washing, the moment you reach for the door, the ring of the phone. 10 seconds will do. Stop inwardly and whisper, be not afraid, God is. Let the shoulders drop. Invite the law of forgiveness to flow where resistance has stiffened. Father, forgive in me where I cannot yet forgive. God is. We are not battling thoughts at noon. We are withdrawing consent from a second power. It is a breath. It is a turn. It is the vine drawing sap into the branch again. Evening, we review without punishing. Sit 2 or 3 minutes before bed. Search me, O God, and know my heart. If the Spirit brings a repair to mind, make a quiet note, not a contract for suffering. If there is nothing to do, do nothing. Release the day. Into thy hands I commit this day. There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Christ Jesus. Rest under Psalm 91. Let the night be a sanctuary, not a courtroom. Now, daily gratitude. Again, keep it holy, keep it hidden. 3 times a day, morning, noon, night, or whenever the heart remembers, say, Father, I thank thee for thy presence, for thy Spirit active now. Not thank you for this outcome, as if the form were the source, but thank you for the life that underlies all form. Notice the evidences of God's nearness, the word that softened your tone, the pause that prevented an old habit, the unearned ease that appeared in the midst of duty. In everything give thanks, not because every appearance is pleasing, but because in everything God is. If nothing seems to move, thank him still. Thy mercy is from everlasting. Gratitude is sight, not payment. Make no display. Go and tell no man. Do not post your devotion or count your days to others. Keep it locked up within you and let the change of atmosphere be its testimony. And if you miss a morning or a night, begin again without self-scourging. This is not a project to earn worth. This is an abiding to reveal identity. The measure is not fireworks. The measure is this: does the door to prayer open more easily? Does the prosecutor arrive later and leave sooner? Do amends arise as tenderness rather than theater? Is your return to God swifter, quieter, more natural? I make you this promise: in 30 days, less than 30 days, you will know a difference in clarity, in gentleness, in the unforced readiness to forgive again tomorrow. Health, harmony, wholeness, completeness, perfection, infinite good. These are not prizes. They are fruits of abiding. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Dwell, and let the law of forgiveness and the song of gratitude do their quiet work. Begin now. Mark the mornings, the midnights of noon, the evenings. Offer your 3 minutes, your 10 seconds, your willingness. Keep it simple. Keep it hidden. Keep it daily. Be not afraid. God is. And because God is, consistent practice more than insight opens the channel where shame dissolves and renewal becomes natural. Now we come to the door, and it opens outward. We do not leave this room to become worthy. We leave because we have discovered we were never outside of God, only outside of remembrance. The new normal is not a costume you put on. It is the removal of a costume you no longer need. Your life is hid with Christ in God. That is not a hope. That is the fact which practice reveals. So we return to the world without the old name, not as one who must carry shame like a credential to prove sincerity, but as one who abides, letting God's mercy live itself as us. Transparency, not project. Branch, not independent tree. Abide, and let the fruit appear in its season. Now, of course, you won't be out of this room 5 minutes before the invitation to 2 powers taps your shoulder. A voice from the past, a paper with numbers, a face that remembers each will try to seek the past beside God as co-author of your day. Regret will argue, consequence will posture, accusation will rehearse its case. Do not debate, withdraw consent. Be not afraid, God is. Say it once for the body, once for the mind, once for the record that imagines it has authority, then move in the light of, if there is a right action to take apology, restitution to a boundary, do it in quietness, not as payment, but as love expressing itself because you are free. There are not two powers. The past has breath only where we lend it lungs. We do not leave here to claim mastery. We do not go forth to advertise a revelation or to count our victories on our fingers. Keep it hidden. Go and tell no man. We walk out as those who practice. We abide, we forgive, we give thanks. We let the little mantra interrupt the spiral. We let the quiet minutes keep the climate of grace around the hours. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. You can't use truth, but truth can use you. So let truth use your tone at the table, your hands at the sink, your eyes upon the next person you meet. Let your day speak for you by the absence of hurry to condemn, by the readiness to begin again, by the steady return to presence when surprise or sorrow knocks. In other words, neither do I condemn thee becomes guidance, not slogan. Hear it as your permission to live. Go thy way and sin no more, not as a threat, but as description. Once you abide, you need not return to the old name to find your bearings. Rise, take up thy bed, and walk. Walk where? Into the ordinary, into the office, in the kitchen, in the corridor, as one who dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High. The world around you may not change its weather at once, but you will have a climate, and climates make weather yield. Lo, I am with you always. Always is the tense of identity. So we bless this going out. We do not carry shame, we carry presence. We are not projects under construction, we are transparencies through which God can act. If the past calls, let it find no clerk at your desk. If fear insists, answer with a sentence you now know to be a door. Be not afraid, God is. Then take the next right step and the next in quiet trust. Abide in the Word. Let the Word abide in you, and you shall bear fruit, health, harmony, wholeness, completeness, perfection, infinite good, as naturally as branches draw life from the vine. Peace I leave with you, not the peace of finish lines and trophies, but the peace of the one who walks with you into what looks ordinary and fills it with mercy. Begin again from presence, and again, until neither do I condemn thee is not a line you remember, but a life that remembers you. Be not afraid, God is. Bless you.